Thank you, Carol, for sharing that. Just want to remind everybody after the sermon, we're going to gather outside here for our church picnic. You can go in there anytime in the next, not during this, wait till after the sermon to get up, okay, would you please? But you can go to the back and get your pictures taken. They've got a beautiful backdrop, and then we can get those pictures sent off to you. But it's a great time about the family today. We're going to have a great dinner with our folks, our friends from across the street at Templo Calvario, as they come and join us for our church picnic together. All right, we're in the third in our series, Balancing Life's Demands. I want to welcome anybody that's joining us online. We're grateful that you've joined us at the Church of the Brethren in Garden City. Today we're going to be talking about relationships and how difficult they can be when we are running at 200 miles an hour. There are lots of dynamics in marriages and relationships between husbands and wives, between parents and children, and grandparents and in-laws and outlaws. And we're going to talk a lot about relationships today. But I saw this cute little cartoon, and I had Barb put it up on the screen. Maybe someone at the end can tell me the answer to what the cartoon says. So it says, if a woman is always right and a man is always wrong, then if a man tells a woman that she's right, is the man right or is he wrong? I'll let you try to figure that out. But one thing for certain, the woman is always right. I love little kids. We have just a wonderful group of kids, and I enjoy the summer times, particularly as we can go out and watch our children and grandchildren play Little League softball and baseball, and it's a great time for the kids and the families. And I'll again mention the movie. I just can't stress it enough. There's a new Christian movie out called Running the Bases. If you're in Garden City or anywhere, go see the movie. Your heart will be thrilled. It'll be a blessing to you. But I'm reminded of a coach who was trying to teach his little leaguer the true value of sports. So he pulls this little 9-year-old little leaguer aside and he said, do you understand what cooperation is? What a team is? Yes, coach, replied the little boy. Do you understand what matters are whether we win or lose together as a team? Yes, coach, I understand. So the coach continued, I'm sure you know when an out is called, you shouldn't argue, curse the umpire, or call him a jerk. Do you understand all that? Again, the little boy nodded in affirmation. The coach said, and when I take you out of the game, so that another little boy can play, I'm not a stupid coach and I'm not a jerk. He said, do you understand that? He said, yes, I do, coach. He said, good. Now will you go over there and tell your grandmother that? Some of us who sit in the stands and grumble at this or that can identify with that. You see, our life, we're just running at such a hectic pace. And if we continue to do that without putting some guidelines, some guardrails up, we're going to destroy some relationships. Our relationships are often like these two coffee mugs. This one, and I know you're going to say, but preacher, this is Corelle. And I know it's Corelle. I won't ask how many of you people have Corelle in your house. We did. And I want to tell you, this is a fragile cup. You can drop this, and I know they say they won't break. I showed it to my mother and said, look, Brenda and I got new Corelle, and I dropped it on the floor and said it won't break, and it shattered in 1,000,000 pieces. True story. Over here is another coffee mug. I can beat it around. I can do whatever you want. it's probably not going to break. Probably not. Depends on how hard Brenda throws it at me. No, that's not true. I want to tell you, folks, our lives, our relationships are often like this fragile coffee cup. They need to be handled with care. When you ship fragile things off, you put it, mark the box fragile, handle with care. Families are fragile. They are a gift from God and need to be handled with the utmost of care. When God sent his Son into the world, he chose to do it through a family, Mary and Joseph. But besides Mary and Joseph, we know there was an uncle and an aunt, Zechariah and Elizabeth. And we know that he had at least one cousin. He was kind of an oddball cousin. He kind of was kind of out there, you know. He dressed in leather and ate locusts and the wild honey. And by the way, all of us have that cousin Eddie in our family. You might even be that cousin Eddie in your family, but you know what I'm talking about. For him, it was John the Baptist. Every family has one. But God chose to bring Jesus into the world in a family, in a relationship with other people. So today, very simple sermon. Very simple sermon. 1 point. 6 practices to restore rushed and ragged relationships. 6 practices to restore rushed and ragged relationships. And we're going to spell out the word family. Those are the 6 points underneath it. F, forgiveness. Every family needs large doses of forgiveness. I know that some of us have hurts and wounds that we've carried with us a long time, but I'm telling you, we need to learn to forgive each other. Ephesians 4:31 and 32 in the English Standard Version said, "Let all bitterness and wrath and anger and clamor and slander be put away from you, along with all malice." And then he continues on. "Be kind to one another, tender-hearted, forgiving one another, as God in Christ forgave you." He says, I want you to get rid of these things. Get all that stuff out. All that anger, all that malice, all that whatever. Put your own word in it. I'm going to put the word drama. Get it out of there. Learn to forgive each other. What great advice to our rushed and ragged relationships. We need to forgive each other. Now, if you're like me, sometimes rather than forgiving someone, we think the better idea is to fix somebody. I won't ask you to put your hand up if you are a fixer, okay? All pastors, I've said it before, all pastors have a little bit of codependency in them. They all want to fix people, and I'm certainly there, and I've struggled with it. My family knows I struggle with it. I want to fix things. I want to fix relationships. But I want to tell you, we need to learn to forgive each other more than we need to fix relationships. There's a wife who, she and her husband argued about that tube of toothpaste. Shared with you about the husband and wife before, but there's another scenario there. We roll the toothpaste up different ways. And she had continued to try to teach her husband the right way to roll the toothpaste up. And she had noticed he was a squeezer. He just squeezed it on the side. That was his style. She noticed that the tube was perfect, that it hadn't been squeezed, and it's been that way for a couple of days. And she said to him, she said, "Have you quit brushing your teeth?" He said, "No, I just lost them." What relationship? We want to fix people. We need to spend more time forgiving them. We need to learn to forgive each other. Relationships are fragile, and we need to forgive more and try to fix less. And that's memo to Bob too, right here. All right, secondly, A, affection. Affection. When there's tension in a family, when there's busyness in the schedule, affection tends to go out the window. We find we have no time for it. And if you have been hurt in a relationship, sometimes we find we're not even interested in any affection. But I can't tell you how important it is that we show affection for each other. It's how we give and receive love in a tangible way. We do it with words. We do it with touches. We do it with looks. And it ought to just be normal for us. I shouldn't have to tell you to be more affectionate in your relationships. I can tell you as a grandparent, I can tell you, it just melts our hearts when our grandkids, before they leave, come over and give us a big hug and say, Grandma and Grandpa, we love you. Big old Adam comes in the house the other day and goes down to the basement and gets what he needs to give and get, and he's walking out the door and he says, love you guys. It's such a simple thing. You have no idea how important it is. Now, I want to flip the script. Do you know how important it is to those kids to know every single day that somebody loves them and affirms them? Makes them feel so precious. Have you ever played the I love you game with a child? I love you this much, and the child says, no, I love you this much, and then I love you this much. And little 5-year-old was playing the game with Grandma, and she finally came up with the one that Grandma couldn't top. She said, Grandma, I love you more than all the cat hairs on a cat. I don't know how many that is, but if you got cats, you know what I'm talking about. God, when his son was alive, took special moments to proclaim to his son and proclaim to the world how he felt about him. When Jesus was baptized, Matthew 3:17 records his voice, this verse. A voice from heaven said, this is my son whom I love. With him I am well pleased. How important it is for us to tell our children and our grandchildren, our kids, when we have an opportunity to teach them, how much we love them. Some of us in the room have been hurt by a father. I'm going to say probably, if anyone's been hurt, it's probably been by a father. And I have to tell you, I can't totally understand all your pain. I have never been there. But I know some of you have had a horrible relationship with your father. And the pain is so very, very deep for you. You face the world every day and you realize how much you are unconditionally loved, but sometimes if your father has hurt you as a child, you don't feel that safety. But Psalms 68:5 says that God is a father to the fatherless, a defender of the widows. That's the kind of God I want. The kind of God who will stand in the gap for those who have been abused by their father and feel like they are fatherless. All right, M. M is for memories. You know, if you read the Old Testament, if you begin from the beginning and work your way through it, it's amazing how on every significant story, when they get to a certain point, they build an altar to remember that event. And then later in life, as they go back through their life, they come to this altar and they remember that memory. Memories are so important. We all have memories. My family went to Pismo Beach every Thanksgiving. We went to the high desert in California for spring break. In the summer, we would go to the high lakes way up in the mountains to fish. Every one of us have those special places we remember. For Brenda and I, it's a rock in the middle of the ocean in Pacific City, Oregon. That's our place. We don't go to Oregon. I cannot tell you the last time we went to Oregon and did not go to Pacific City and go see Haystack Rock and eat in the little cafe that's right there and look at the rock. We love it. We have memories there. Our son has memories there. We have family vacations. Your kids remember those vacations. You know what happens when you come home from a vacation? The parents go to bed that night and say, we're never going to do that again. And the kids are saying, boy, I can hardly wait till we do that again. They see it from a whole different perspective. We have amazing memories. We need to build memories. I meet with a lot of families. I met with a family this week, a family I've never met before. I'm going to do a funeral tomorrow for the father. And it was so much fun listening to them Thursday night tell me stories about Dad and the family. And they would, one would start and another one would pick it up, and then they'd go to another memory and they'd go to another memory. And pretty soon, instead of tears and sadness, there's laughter. Because they had a memory. They built memories. I urge you to build memories with your families. Some of us have memories about science projects with their kids. I won't ask you if you've done science project with your kids. If you had kids, I'm sure that you did a science project. One kid did a science project, and he titled the project, "The Amount of Turmoil a Science Project Can Cause on a Family." Here's his conclusions. 95% of all kids cry. 90% of all parents yell. 15 hours of family time is sacrificed to do the project. And the biggest result is everybody wishes they would end science fairs. But we all have memories, and I want to urge you, remember those moments. Make those moments with your family. Make them special. All right, we're at the I part of family. I, Emmanuel. I-M-M-A-N-U-E-L. I know. I'm used to spelling it E. This is my cup from my seminary, Emmanuel Christian Seminary, and it's spelled with an E, but it can be spelled with an I. We need to have God as the center of our families. Emmanuel means, can you tell me what it means? God with us. That's exactly, have you not ever prayed, God, please be with my family? That's it, Emmanuel. We need to instill that into our families. We need to be praying for God's help in our family dynamics. Because sometimes they can get a bit dysfunctional. My parents certainly taught me and my brothers and sisters that God was at the center part of our life. I tell people, I have no idea. I have no idea what people do on Sunday morning. Because from the time I was 5 days old, I've never been anywhere on a Sunday except church. A rare occasion, not. But that was instilled from the day I was born in our family. Through the valleys and the mountaintops, God was still there. He sustained us through cancer diagnosis, watching our parents die. Both Brenda and my parents die. I have a set of twins that are younger than me, brother and sister. Both of them have now died. Being put on hospice and watching them die. God has seen Brenda and I through some difficult times. When I was burned out and left preaching to go sell books in Florida, it was a tough time. I can remember telling Brenda, we need to be careful what we do. We have $1.29 to our name, and payday's not till Friday. But you know what? God was there through it all. Some of us are going through tough relationships, tough times now. You need to put God not on the fringe, not as an afterthought. You need to put him in the middle of that relationship. If you need some help in figuring out how to do that, I'd be happy to talk with any of you about that. It's about making a choice to make God the center of our lives, not the extra in our lives. Joshua 24:15 is about choice. Here's what Joshua 24 says. And if it is evil in your eyes to serve the Lord, choose, there's a choice. Choose this day whom you will serve. Whether the gods your father served in the region beyond the rivers, or the gods of the Amorites in whose land you dwell. But as for me and my house, Joshua says, we will serve the Lord. It's a choice. It's a choice. All right, L. Laughter. Laughter. Nothing is quite endearing as laughter. I love listening to people tell story after story and laugh and laugh and laugh. It's just an amazing time. There's nothing more intoxicating than a family who learns to laugh together. Not at each other, but with each other. As my mother used to say, if you can't take it, don't give it out. So I tell people, you can give me as bad a time as you want, because I'm probably going to give you a bad time. But I also tell people, I don't give people a bad time if I don't really like them. So that gentleman that I called out for coming in late for church today and kind of gave a bad time to, I only did that because I really like him a lot. I shouldn't? Did you say I shouldn't like him a lot?
He really wasn't late.
I know he wasn't late. I'm just giving him a bad time. That's my point. When in 1983, Brenda and I and Clark was 6 years old, we took an adventure that we had no idea where it was going to lead. We left the safety and security of a wonderful church in Southern Oregon that we loved them so much and they loved us so much. And I had decided that I was called to preach in Brisbane, Australia. And we packed up everything, 9 suitcases, that's all we had. We sold everything we had, 9 suitcases, and my boxes of books. I have to take my books everywhere. Now we just put it on our computers and forget the books, pretty much. All that was shipped to Oregon, and my motorcycle, or from Oregon to Australia, and my motorcycle, we shipped that too. When we got to Australia, we were told that most Americans, preachers, fail when they come to Australia. And I began to see why as I visited with some of the Yankee preachers that were preaching in Queensland. Because they were all there trying to tell them that they needed to become like Americans. And they needed to do church the way the Americans do church. And let me tell you, the Australians didn't like it very well. Well, I didn't do that. The first Sunday we were there, we arrived on a Saturday, and it had been a long flight, so they had one of the members of the church preach in the morning. And Sunday night, they wanted us to just talk with them. So that night, as we gathered for church and we got to know them, we began to talk with them. And I began to tell them, I said, I want you to know that you have the right to laugh at anything we say or do, as long as we have the right to laugh about anything you say or do. Well, it immediately tore down all those barriers because we had a common ground. We were going to laugh with each other. And folks, I'll just tell you, they do some funny things. They say some funny things. They are a very, very literal language. They have a very literal language. So if you wreck your car and you take it to the body shop, in Australia, you take it to the panel beaters, because those are the people that beat the panels. That's what they're called. You take it to the panel beating shop. They are very literal. So they would say, I remember leading this Bible study, and this lady said to me, true story, Leonie, she said to me, Bob, have you been able to nurse a koala? And I told her I didn't think I was able to nurse a koala. And she said, no, silly. Have you held a koala? Yes, Leonie, I've held a koala. I knew exactly what she meant. We have controversies. They have controversies. I have no idea how they get them. Their favorite TV show. Now, you get it, 1983. Every Wednesday night. I am not making this up. Every Wednesday night on TV. Here comes the show. Live from America, Dynasty. I'm going, what? Dynasty? It's Dynasty. No, Bob, in Australia, it's Dynasty. Well, in America, it's Dynasty. I said, how do you get dynasty? I don't know, it's always been dynasty. I said, you have dynamite and dynamo and dynamic. How do you, but it's, I'm serious, live from America, Dynasty. It's the Ming Dynasty. So, it gets worse. Again, we learn to laugh with each other. So one day I had a stack of letters that I needed put into envelopes. And there was a young college girl who helped me a little bit doing some of that. And I said to her, I said to Wendy, I said, Wendy, would you please stuff these letters in these envelopes for me? And she turned beet red, and her mouth opened up, and she got aghast. And I said, Wendy, what's wrong? She said, Bob, you don't ever say to a woman to stuff anything. I said, why? She said, because in Australia, when you say that someone is stuffed, you're telling them that they're pregnant, and they're pregnant out of wedlock. So I'm going to tell you folks, if any of you finish that barbecue today and you say, I'm stuffed, I want to see the pictures, folks. That's exactly what she said. I said, Wendy, I am so sorry. I had no idea that's what that meant to you. She said, I know you didn't know that that's what that meant. So I was very careful what I said. All right, you. Why? The why is you. You can't have lasting relationships when you're rushed and ragged family at 200 miles an hour unless you are present, you are involved, you are engaged. Look at this amazing admonition in Deuteronomy, and Barb's going to put it up here. Okay, notice how many times the word you or your is used there. And these words that I command you today shall be on your heart, and you shall teach them diligently to your children, and you shall talk of them when you sit in your house, and when you walk by the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise up. 9 times I think it's used. 9 times. You have to be involved in the teaching of your kids and your grandkids. In the family, you have to be involved. I heard about a dad who unintentionally had missed most of the special events of his family because he was so busy at work. When he realized the mistake that he had made, the mistakes that he had made in life, his eldest daughter was a sophomore in high school. And he told the family, we are going to change. And I'm going to lead in changing the way we do things. So he had calculated that he had 144 more Saturdays to spend with his eldest daughter before she graduated from high school. And he got a big glass jar, and he filled it with 144 marbles. And each Saturday he would take a marble out. The family would talk about that. It began to change that entire family. We have to be intentional, folks. We can be so busy in life. We have to be intentional about making sure that you and I are engaged in our relationships. The conclusion is it takes all these to restore rushed and ragged relationships. It takes forgiveness. We need tons of it. It takes affection, lots of affection and love, and you can't give too much. It makes memories. We need to be building memories together. We need to put God first in our marriage and in our family, center of our lives. We need lots of laughter, and we have to be engaged in every relationship, because every relationship is fragile, folks. It's fragile. Let's pray. Almighty God and Heavenly Father, I thank you for the families that we have, the relationships that we have. And I pray, Father, that we can learn to put these things into practice. So many of us need to learn to forgive more. We need to learn to laugh more. We need to learn and express our love and our affection more. We need to put you more in the center. We need to be more engaged. We need to build fabulous memories with our family.